during this time, you mentioned that this was the first time you went to prison. Prison, I think, like what's unique, and this is talked about by many scholars and people who have researched your work. The site of the prison as uh, so. I know you spent time in jail under Zia-ul-Haq's period. Can you tell a little bit about that? What were the core political stances and ideas which led to your sentencing during that period? And then I'll come back
Well,
and talk about it.
okay. Um, you see, when a political activist is sent to, or a student activist is sent to prison, it's a matter of pride, and there is no stigma, there's no shame. And as a young person, you are unafraid, especially if you are a part of a movement. So
Mhm.
I don't think I've been to prison 3 4 times. I don't think I've ever been or ashamed. Mostly being proud and also in a way excited at the new experiences or new challenges. So, and since you are with a group of friends, I don't think I ever, apart from the first time when I was kept in solitary for a few days, those are the experiences which can really have it all. Because if you are on your own in a prison cell, with hardly anything like one of the political leaders who have been having a great time in prison these
Yeah,
days.
yeah.
You don't have a newspaper, you don't have television, you have nothing. In the prison cell, it was a police lockup. In fact, it was
Mhm,
totally cleaned out. There was nothing there, not
mhm,
even a piece of paper. And there was the it was yeah, it was February, in fact, so it was quite cold. And the prison bars, I mean, the window was not shut, it was just bars, so it was open. And I was shivering and I had nothing, just whatever clothes I had, a jacket and trousers, and that's all I had. So there was a toilet attached to the lockup. So that was a place which was warmer. So I had spent the night there because I couldn't stay in the larger room. And I remember I saw a small piece of newspaper, just cutting or something piece. And I would not read, must be about 40, 50 lines of different news. I would not read the whole thing in one go. So I would read 3 or 4 lines, then I will give it a rest. And after 1 hour or so, I'll read some other news from that piece of paper. So apart from that, when you are with the group, even if you are with the group of so-called common criminals, the convicts, the murderers and the dacoits and whatever other crimes they may have committed, if you are in their company, then you adjust, you adapt, and you become friends with them. And to everyone's surprise, the more when you are in the company of other inmates, your own political prisoners, or even what we call the criminals or the convicts with all kind of apparently horrendous crimes they might have committed. But somehow, as inmates, you become friends. Um, uh, you somehow you find a meeting ground. So I remember when we were first sent to Miawali prison, which is a kind of maximum security prison in Pakistan.
What year
Um,
was this?
it was 1978.
Okay.
1978. So it was General Zia-ul-Haq's time. And we were in Kot Lakpat jail, Lahore, with Zulfikar Bhutto as our neighbor. He was also there, and we tried to connect with him, and that was something which was totally unacceptable to the authorities. So they, as punishment, they transferred some of us to Miawali. So there, the first day when the prison barracks and cells are closed, um, then there is a ritual that the new comers are introduced. So we sat in a circle and they introduced themselves. So Sher Khan, 25 years, Muhammad Khan, death penalty, but uh, now remitted to life imprisonment. Then someone who has committed two murders, someone who is a dacoit or whatever. And 25 years, 20 years, 30 years, these were the general as part of introduction, name and then the sentence. So when my turn came, I said, Shahid Nadeem, 1 year. So I said it very sheepishly because as compared to the 30-year sentence people, it was nothing. And they actually said, you are just here for a picnic and no problem. And they became so, and physically, they were quite intimidating. You know, the, especially the Myanmar people with their mustaches and tall and quite aggressive in their posture. But they literally took us in their wing because we are young people who have never thought that we'll be spending time with these criminal convicts in Miyawali. So they took us under their wing. They protected us from the guards who were there for money or some other kind of gratification. And then I found that many of them were like wannabe artists. They were singers, they were comedians, they were dancers, and they were makeup artists because I then started writing play for the weekend in the prison barrack, and they all loved it. They loved playing female roles, and they were absolutely brilliant in finding ways of doing makeup or costumes. So I think I learned more from my 1 year spent in Miyawali prison or other prison than the 2 years I spent in Punjab University.
Yeah. And I think that that experience led to you writing, uh, if I'm correct, in the 80s, the Quittle and Bari, two plays which had been heavily discussed from your side. Firstly, for showing the experience of the prison, but also, you know, in understanding of power. Felt those plays were sort of a reflection of how society, of a larger understanding of power and resistance, I guess you could say. The prison as a sort of
Yeah.
understanding of power. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's a microcosm of society, and this is how we believe as associates. That and one of my friends, Raja Anwar, wrote a book called "From the Big Jail to Small Jail" when about his prison memoirs. Badi jail se choti jail tak. So yes, in prison you see things more clearly: the power dynamics, the role of the superintendent, and then the warden, and then the warders, and then the prisoners who are as lambardars. They are used as monitors or as guards by the prison authorities. The concept of forced labor, and obviously our sentence was rigorous imprisonment, but
Yeah.
also they insisted that the prisoners also keep the prison spark clean and shining, and the garden should be well taken care of. So it's a beautiful place if you look at it just as a building or as a community. Like I give you one example that when you are called by the prison superintendent, you go and stand outside the window in the open in the yard, and the superintendent office window. You're supposed to wait outside with your eyes down, and you don't know if he's sitting there or not. You don't know whether he's looking at you or not. You
Yeah.
only respond when you are spoken to. So, kind of a godly quality. I even then I realized that he can see us and we cannot see, or we cannot do anything about it. He can give orders, and then we only option we have is obey.
Yeah.
So I think the way we came close to each other, we were a group of seven, eight people from Pakistan Television Trade Union. We had been arrested for occupying the television studios, television building as a protest against General Zia-ul-Haq. So, so we, I mean, we in my group there was a cameraman, there was a news producer, there was a mechanic, there was a driver, and we the way we bonded together and became a
You were speaking about the comradeships and relationships that you formed.
See, there were two levels, or maybe three levels. First is our own comrades, the group to which I belonged, and we became uh, more friendly. We were from different class backgrounds. One was a driver, the other one was a mechanic, and then a news producer, then cameraman. Myself, I was a program producer, and we how to share food, how to cook, how to learn to cook, how to enjoy each other's company and crack jokes. We started working on a film script, which we more or less completed, it, but obviously never turned into a movie. And then family matters and how we became so close to each other's family, the letters from a daughter, from a wife, or from a mother, which received, everyone shared that. And then sometimes one of us go into depression and almost have breakdown. And then how we were giving comfort to that person. So that was, and we were defending ourselves also as a group if there was a threat from outside, from other prisoners or from prison guards. Then the relationship with the prison, other prisoners. And since there was one other group of political prisoners, a group of journalists who had been also sentenced because of their campaign against censorship. Otherwise, they were common prisoners from all over Pakistan, including a few prisoners from India who had been arrested on the charges of spying. Some of them had just accidentally crossed the border and that got arrested, and it happens all the time. Many of them had been there for many years, like 8 years, 10 years. The sentence was 3 months, but there was no one to process their release. So they were there. And they also became quite friendly. And one of them became a palmist and sort of all kind of assurances giving to prisoner the date of their release or the condition of their family and things like that. One was a very good singer, and Mahinder Singh from Jammu, who was also quite a master in this carpentry job. Because I was given the labor of working in the factory, making chairs and polishing tables. And he was my prison mate because he was this senior person there. And he taught me how to knit this plastic chairs. And those were the chairs which we made. They were used by the military officers to would visit and witness the implementation of flogging sentences or just hold some kind of investigation. So it was quite ironic that they were using the chairs which we were making. But anyway,
Yeah.
the relationship with the prison, other prisoners, those who have absolutely very, very different lives and different backgrounds and different personalities. And normally one would just hide from them and be petrified if you look at their. I think the prison world, of course, a microcosm of the society in general, especially an oppressive, unjust society which we are living in here in Pakistan. So it is very well structured and very clearly visible how the power dynamics work and who calls a shot and how people are exploited and they're bribed and they are intimidated and punished.
So one important thing which I want to mention is that in prison, letters make a big difference. Any letter from your family and from your friends or from your supporters in the outside world, outside Pakistan. So there was a person called Kishore Lal who was charged, and I think which was the truth also, that he was an Indian spy. And he had been in prison for nearly 10 years. And he was working in the office of the superintendent because he knew how to type. He was well versed in English. And for the superintendent, it was immaterial whether he was a spy or whether he was an Indian convict. But it was very convenient for him that he would type letters and respond to letters on his behalf. So one day, Kishore Lal passed by my cell, and like a trained spy, he threw a piece of paper and without anyone noticing. And when I read that paper, it was penciled copy of a letter written by a group in San Antonio, Texas, an Amnesty International group who were campaigning for my release, and it was addressed to me that we are aware of your circumstances and hold strong, and we are campaigning and we have written to the government and this and that. So there was no possibility of photocopying. So Kishore Lal copied the letter because the prison authorities were not passing on the letter to me because they knew that I get the letter, then I will become